You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
I want to talk about news, don't want the drama. From no pretentious media Madonna. I found me a great ganja mama. Cannabis and coffee with Tamarijuana.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. Well, it's been a couple weeks, I guess, because I think I was off last week because it was Labor Day long weekend, right? So we skipped that one, and the week before that, I think I had a replay going because I don't even know. This summer has just been like straight through, and never mind like running, back and forth to Alberta, and then keeping up with CSP and trying to keep up with everything else that's been going on. It's been a crazy summer. So this week, here we are. It is September the 8th, which means we're pretty much done and into the second week of September already. So that means that most of your flowers outside should be starting to bloom. Because it's that time of year, right? When the sun starts, going down a little sooner than we want it to, unfortunately. But for our plants, we need that 12 and 12. So most of you, if you're growing outside anywhere in the southern parts of Canada, your plant should be starting to throw some white hairs and hopefully not any bulbs. And for some reason, I got the damn hiccups again. I got the hiccups this morning several times, and I don't know why. Anyways, unfortunately, I haven't been growing anything but cucumbers this summer, and I got a real aphid problem. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but there's not a really large wasp population this year, at least not in my yard. And normally I am overrun with yellow jackets. Like I have to put out several, wasp catchers and wasp deterrents, and they're all over the place. And as soon as I turn the hose on, I've got several of them darting at my hose to get water. But boy, oh boy, I've noticed a lack of those and a fucking overabundance of green aphids. Now, normally I have a huge amount of green aphids in my yard too, which probably brings in a lot of the wasps that I normally have in my yard because I have these Virginia creepers. And out the front, around my, and around my back, it's all Virginia creepers. So the aphids have been really like that because it's usually got a lot of abundant new shoots coming on. It's high in nitrogen, right? And aphids, those little green aphids, love that. And I've got weeping willows and stuff too. But this year, I've got they decimated my fucking cucumber. Like I had a beautiful cucumber. It was beautiful. I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on with it. Decimated by aphids. Completely decimated. My tomatoes too. Like I've been trying to hold them off with soap and dishwater, and I bought some safer soap, and I've been spraying them every day with cold water, and I can't keep them back. But I also don't have the grasshopper population this year, and I definitely don't have the wasp population. But boy, do I have cutter bees. Cutter bees are everywhere. Like it's kind of crazy. So no wasps, tons of aphids, lots of cutter bees. Because I got that peppermint that grows all along the side of my house, and it's got the big, beautiful flowering on it right now. And I've got tons and tons of cutter bees, which means we got some great, pollination going on. But I don't know if I don't know if any of you've noticed there's no wasps, or if you haven't, I'm not sure. But anyways, today I'm also taking up a panel. So if anybody wants to come on as part of the show, all you have to do is leave me a comment anywhere. I can't get comments off Facebook. I don't know why. When I'm on here, you have to go into the StreamYard, allow StreamYard to allow you access. I don't know what they ask. I don't know what they need, but that'll be the way I can see comments. Because unless I go to my Facebook page, which I can't do here and there, I don't know, but I can't. Anyways. So if you want to come up on a panel, let's see, I've got a list today. So CSP update. Well, we need help. CSP actually had to turn down somebody yesterday because I'm out of everything. Like I said on my Facebook page, right down to I don't think I even have a pair of socks left. I have pretty much exhausted every element. I think I got some tampons and that kind of stuff, but I've exhausted every avenue that I've got right now as far as supplies go. So we are doing a waffle. We are. Now I think I'm going to take this. I don't know if I can do that while I'm on the air. I'm going to try and change this background. Mic setting under exit solo layout. Maybe I have to go over here. I'm going to try and get this blur off, because if I don't get this blur off, you won't be able to see what I'm trying to show you. So we're just going to go with none. You're just going to have to deal with my mess. And my news on in the background. Anyways, I can turn that off. That's not a big deal. So it's not distraction, because it'd be more distracting to me than it will be to you. I don't like, if I have something on in the background, it'll distract me. Okay. So because of the situation that we're in right now with CSP, we've got zero funds. I'm down to like maybe a gram of cannabis. And the candies that I've got are, they're sticky. They didn't set up as well because it was too hot. Besides, I had to use keef too, right? So we are going to do a waffle. So what this waffle is going to be is I'm going to have whoever's interested come into my inbox and let me know that you're interested. Then I'm going to send you a group, and then we're going to do pulling cards, and each card's going to be worth $10, right? And at the end of the day, we'll pull a card from the deck, and whoever has that card in the deck will end up winning. So that's how we kind of work that. So what the prizes are going to be, and I will show you what the price. I don't have a giveaway today, anyways. If anybody's watching, it doesn't look like anybody's watching, anyways. So unless somebody decides to come up all of a sudden, but these are going to be part of the package. So I will have a box of Canadian lumber papers for you, a full box. So that is like several packs of papers. This one's been used, of course. So it won't be this pack, of course. And I believe there are, I'm not even sure how many packs in a box. I'm not sure the box tells me how many packs are in the box either. Interesting. Unbleached these are unbleached pure wood rolling papers, though. These are their woods ones. There's also the hippies, and they've also got different types of papers. But these are unbleached pure wood. I would assume that there's probably, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. There must be 25 in a pack, in a box. So we will have one box of these in the waffle. There'll also be this, which is an original Georgia Tunes postcard that I actually bought at TY. So this will be part of the waffle, as well as this beautiful little rolling tray that was donated by one of our volunteers, Jessica. And then we also have a little bonger here that will also be part of it. So the waffle will contain all of these things, right? So again, if you're interested in the waffle, PM me on my personal Facebook page, and I will give you you can pull however many cards you want from the deck. So we'll have whatever, like I said, you'll get whatever card you want, and then it's $10 per card. And then at the end of the waffle, I will pull that card, and whoever's card gets pulled is the winner. So that's the details on the waffle for CSP. And of course, all proceeds go to CSP, which then buys supplies and stuff for the houseless in Cranbrook, British Columbia, which I use and give it all away for harm reduction. So again, if anybody's wanting to donate to, you can get a hold of me, or my email address for cash is tamarily9@hotmail.com. But CSP is something that runs in other cities across the country. It's used as harm reduction, as a deterrent, because I feel that cannabis deters you from wanting to smoke something else. Or maybe it'll help you with withdrawal symptoms, or maybe it'll make you want to have a nap and not want to smoke meth. Or maybe, whatever whatever I also am looking for harm reduction supplies, which can be anything, including papers, pipes, roach clips, lighters, those types of things as well would be helpful. Socks are always helpful. Now we're getting into the fall winter season, so again we'll be looking again for socks and toques and mitts and that kind of stuff. Water is always a great thing too. I always need water and munchies and stuff to give them out. Now that I'm no longer working at the store, I don't get all the write-offs and stuff that I used to get to be able to take out, which kind of sucks back on my supplies too. And because I'm not working, I don't have my own funds to put towards anything anymore. So because I'm living on, medical unemployment and then hopefully CPP disability approves my application. So I will have some income. If not, then I'm, well, I have a husband, but I mean, I don't obviously expect him to pay for all of my life. And I don't understand why income levels for people that are married should matter when it comes to disabilities, provincial or otherwise. I think it's financial abuse to anybody, whether you're female, male, non-binary. I don't care what your gender, I don't care. That's a non-issue with me. But if you're, somebody that's a disabled person in Canada, it shouldn't matter what your marital status is or what your spouse makes. Because a lot of, not everybody, but some people live in with financial abuse wherever, the spouse wants every receipt and to produce every dime. And then if, God forbid you're a woman that you might need, stuff for yourself that you have to ask your husband for and then bring a receipt for it. Like, I know I know those shouldn't be the situations, but I know those are some of the situations. And it's unfortunate. But for some reason, men seem to think if they're the breadwinner that they have a right to also control every move you make and every dime you spend. Anyways, we won't get into that. We're going to get into some cannabis news. So by the looks of what I've been reading is BC is going to have the first Indigenous Cannabis Conference. Right? So I'm not sure what the details are. We're going to find out here. So let's go Indigenous Cannabis Conference. BC's Indigenous Cannabis Conference is taking place in Nanaimo from September 14th to September 16th, and registration is free for Indigenous participants and representatives. So looks like there is, let me see if I can bring this up. There is. So we're going to visit this, and I'm going to bring this up, and we'll share this. Share screen. Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. So we're going to bring this up and we're going to share the screen on this. See how long this takes. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do.
From Quora.com.
Alexa, stop. Okay, so now I got out of this. Apparently I put it on my Facebook page too, which is fine. So this is what we're looking at here. Let me see if I can bring it up and make it bigger. Uh-oh. What do I do here? What happened to that page? I don't know what I just did to it. There it is. Okay, now that's Facebook. That's not what I wanted either. I wanted this. Oh, it's a Facebook page. Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can bring this up instead. Here we are. Okay. So we're going to bring that one up instead. See, it's just sovereignty. Okay, now we're going to add this to the stage. There we go. No, I want to put this over here. Okay, so this is what it is. I don't know if I can make this any bigger. Full screen layout. There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, So we want to go here. Okay, so what we got here is Seeds to Sovereignty, BC Indigenous Cannabis Conference, featuring keynote speakers, trailblazer, investor, empire builder. Don't miss Margaret Miha. She shares how to turn hustle into legacy in any industry. So this is Seeds to Sovereignty, BC Indigenous Cannabis Conference. Coast Bistion Hotel in Nanaimo, BC. And it's free entry. It says buy tickets. It says 0 to $499.99, so I'm not sure what that means. So let's see who we've got for speakers here. We've got Alana Davis of Double Cannabis. We've got Albert Eppinga, who is the founder of BC Can. Chelsea Strange, cannabis nurse and consultant. Chief Don Tom, Union of BC Indian Chiefs. Daniel Penny, Chief Operating Officer of Sugarcane Cannabis. David Brown, founder of StratCan. Dr. Michelle Cornfield, founder of BC Can. Heber Eppinga, Operations Specialist, BC Can. Ian Simpson's Chief Executive Officer of Petroglyph Development Group. So this looks like it might be, no, the only name that I recognize is Philip Lucas, Director of Research and Safe Access through Multidisciplinary Associations for Psychedelic Studies. So I do recognize Phil's name there. Ron Ayer, Cross Business Development, and Sherry Brown, Medical Cannabis Formulator for Sherry Brown Skincare. So I don't recognize anybody's names, but Philip Lucas. So, and it's also got apply for funding, financing programs, workshops, conferences, and about NEDCs. So this is about NEDC, supporting Indigenous businesses on Vancouver Island, success through relationships. So this is a continue to develop and grow the best cannabis Indigenous corporations offering financial backing and business developments. So this is something that's pretty super exciting, actually, like for our Indigenous brothers and sisters, that they can actually, maybe the BC government will have to change their cannabis laws, because in the BC Cannabis Act, it actually leaves no room for cannabis Indigenous cannabis dispensaries. They've raided a few, and I know that they raided one in Nova Scotia not too long ago too. But I'm not sure exactly what the exact legislation is. So I'd have to go back and kind of read through it, because I'd have to refresh myself, because I don't really remember, to be honest. Okay, so let's close that off. And let's go back to this. Okay, so we're gonna turn that one off too and go back to here. So that's something that's kind of exciting, that there's, an Indigenous conference coming up for a couple of days in Nanaimo, that, if you're not involved in the industry and want to get involved in the industry and are of Indigenous background, you can get in touch with it's NEDC, and they have opportunities available and the conference coming up. And like I said, the only name that I recognize is Philip Lucas, but I mean, he was one of the founding members of Tilray as well, Tilray, yeah. But Philip Lucas was one of our very first medical patients. He advocated for a very long time for medical patients' rights. And then he's now looking like he's working on the psychedelics end of things. So that's exciting, because I know a lot of people that do benefit from psychedelic medications, right? For whatever reason. Some people use it for pain too. I know several people that have used it for pain. I've never found it. I have to be maybe a little more open-minded. I'm always a bit skeptical, but I'm also very much not a fan of psychedelics. And that's something that has always been, I don't like being out of control. Why I'm not a big fan of alcohol and such either. I don't like feeling out of control. I think that's why I always kind of lean towards cannabis, is because I could not be out of control, and I could it stops. I could eat something or, something, or go to sleep, and then I wouldn't be high anymore, right? And now I don't get high. Now it's just medical for me. So, I mean, that's the thing, so another thing that people don't understand sometimes, and I get that. Okay, so recent medical cannabis news includes the 2024 systematic review suggesting cannabis and opiates are comparably effective for chronic pain. No shit. Where have we heard that before? And again, like, I know people just think that we just spark up, to get high. And I have to explain to my doctor too that it doesn't kill the pain, it doesn't mask it, it diverts it, right? And my first line of defense when I'm in pain is this. Always. Now, right now, you can see like it looks like I got one knuckle here instead of two because this is all swollen and I'm having a hard time moving these two fingers. I can't. I've got absolutely no, and it's sore all the way down, right? But again, my first line of defense is always this. And I can at least function. I might get a little tired and get snacky, but that's never a harmful thing, right? But again, you don't want to be driving and falling asleep either, right? So again, you have to be careful in what your tolerance levels are. And again, that's something that, whether you're a long-term user or you're not a long-term user. Most people that are long-term cannabis users have a high tolerance and can manage to get behind the wheel after smoking. A lot of us have no choice but to, so we can get behind the wheel, so we can move, right? And I mean, that's something I don't know with restrictions on driver's licenses if we're supposed to disclose or not. I also don't disclose that I'm prescribed a triple script either. I don't take that triple script very often, but when I need it, I damn will take it. The last few days, unfortunately, I mean, I was using my dad's walker on Saturday. It was that bad, my hip, like, it was so bad. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like brutal. But again, puffing through this, and again, this gets expensive, and I couldn't roll, so I was buying pre-rolls. Now, I must say, I have found some pretty nice pre-rolls lately. Like when we first started coming out, those pre-rolls pretty much tasted like pencil shavings. Not even gonna lie. In fact, I was so discouraged until Al had to send me a Remo's nutrient from Ontario because I still can't get Remo's nutrient or Remo's product here in British Columbia at my store anyways. But the Remo's big, supercharged doobie, and Al sent me one from Ontario so I could try it. But that was the first decent one. And then they tried the baby Jeters, and those I really, really enjoy. And of course, a general admission Tiger's Blood. But they're also pretty pricey. But this last round, I've got a 20 pack of, I think they were something alien. I did the package out, but they were a 20 pack, and they were like $24.99, I think, or $34.99 for 20 joints. And I mean, they weren't great big honking joints; they were just little tiny stubbies. But it was decent, right? It had a nice flavor to it, nice terpenes, and it said they were 30%. I don't know. I plowed through 20 joints in 2 days, easy. In fact, not even. In fact, some days that's one day. And that's not taking any opioids either, right? Like I've got hydromorphine I could be taking two-hand or a fist, but I'm not. Because I prefer to just puff my brains out. But sometimes there's not enough cannabis in the world. Like some days there's just not enough. And and even today, like today I'm not taking any opioids, but there's not enough that's going to fix this today. Like I can move these two, but there's no way that it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter whether I took what I took. It's not going to fix this because this is an inflammation that's, icy pot, you bet. I'm rubbing that on there too. But does it take away that inflammation? No, only thing that takes away the inflammation is time. And unfortunately, with my rheumatoid disease, that's the only thing that helps is time. Oh, and P.S., it is September and it is rheumatoid disease month. And I know that includes lupus, that includes psoriasis, ulcerative colitis, any autoimmune rheumatic, right? So a lot of them are a lot more brutal than we think. But I've got like so many autoimmune, like we've got the lymphatic colitis, we've got the rheumatoid arthritis, we've got the this, that, and let's add it all up and put some ice in it, put a cherry on top, because that's what it is. That's life. And here we are, muddling through like we always do on a daily basis. We just muddle through and smoke a lot of weed. Because that's what we got to do. We just got to smoke a lot of weed, right? Because if we don't, sometimes we just don't make it through. And I mean, I'm not saying that sometimes I don't even have enough. But again, I also have stuff that would be sitting here for CSP that I won't smoke. Do I have anything tucked in here? Sometimes I just surprise myself because I don't check in here very often. Like, no. Wishful thinking that I thought there might be a bag tucked in here, in the back. No, there's not. Oh well, that's okay. Maybe we'll have to make a trip, I don't know, out to BD's today or something and see if they've got something out there. But again, they've gone kind of, because I've gone quite a bit out there for a while, because like I said, I've been running back and forth to Lethbridge. Like with my dad passing away, it hasn't even been 3 months since my dad died, and I'm just not myself still. Like I'm, kind of like all over the place and trying to manage my meds and my stress and, Taven going to school again, which has been difficult. Which reminds me, he didn't come home for lunch. Did he text me? Ooh, I should have checked. No. Okay, well, I'm going to take, I got 4 minutes. That's weird. Because he'd have to be back at school at 12:30. Told me he was coming home for lunch. And then he didn't. I know he has no access to his phone at school. I will text him here in 2 minutes and once I'm on my break and see if I can catch him and see if he's okay. Because I'm pretty sure he said he was coming home for lunch. And lunch is over at 12:30. Maybe he's feeling better. Maybe he found some friends. Wouldn't that be fucking terrific? Because I'm sure if there was any problems anywhere, somebody would have called me. That's nice. And that's nice too. I am going to text him right now because I don't like the fact that he didn't come home for lunch when he told me he was coming home for lunch. That's a little unnerving. Anyways, but again, like there's so many, different things you can do with cannabis too, like, eat it. Okay, so let's see what else we got going on in here. New research, anything new for the researchers? I don't want to get too much in this because I don't want to, start going into Al's dwell on news because I don't usually report the news, but just for some health benefits or something to chat about because I'm going to, do a Haley update. That's what I was going to do today too. And now my computer's decided to be all funky. There we are. Okay, so we were going to do a Haley update today too because I think that that's always a great thing to do. Because she's amazing to me. Like, it just amazes me how well she's doing. And Cheryl actually got a hold of me this morning, which is why we're going to do a quick Haley update, because I wanted to do that. But we'll come back after the break and start with a Haley update, because there's like a lot to talk about here. Because this kid has gone from being, like I said, we thought we weren't going to have her around very long, to her being 31 years old and kicking butt, like kicking it. And so is that. You see that thing moving around out there? He's mad at me because I've got him locked in the bedroom right now. But he stinks. And that's kind of partially my fault, but he stinks. And I just want to, not have him stinking up my room at the moment. I already got one stinking one right there. Farting and huffing and stinking and, giving him CBD till I'm giving him CBD. A lot of CBD. In fact, where is my CBD? He probably needs some more. And on that note, we are going to go to a quick commercial break and thank our sponsors. And as Al would say, pay some bills because we got some bills. Got to pay our bills. So we'd like to thank Limestone Hydroponics and Campbellford Lifestyle Shop and Easy. Steve, easy. Anyways, I will play the commercial break and let them thank you. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
I'm here. Just have to find that mouse. Wow. So yeah, like we've got some really great sponsors, and I want to thank them. They've been hanging around with us for quite a long time, and we're always grateful for everything they can do and to help us keep moving forward, because it's not easy getting sponsors, especially with legalization, with the restrictions on legal stores and events and all kinds of things. We just don't get people like running up and saying, hey, we want to help you do this. We don't have that going on, even with the substitution program. Even like, a lot of people were, all gung-ho at first, but it all peters off after time. And trying to be on point with fundraising all the time is not something I really enjoy doing. I'd rather do the work behind the scenes. I'd rather be baking and taking and making the bags, and rather than being the person on the front line trying to raise funds. But since I'm running the substitution program out here by myself, pretty much, I'm everything. I'm the fundraiser, I'm the CEO, I'm the secretary, I'm the baker, chocolate maker, bag packer, promotion, everything. And it's a lot of work. So I give kudos to every other substitution program out there that's running, because it's a lot of work. So kudos to them, and please thank your local, Surrey, Langley, wherever. If you see anybody, Chris in Halifax, you see any one of them doing the work, or you see them on Facebook promoting their stuff, share it and get it out there. See if you can, empower somebody else to come and help them, or even start their own program in their own town, in city, because addiction is something that we need to try and get a handle on. And I don't know what the actual resolution is going to end up being, because it's a never ending thing, right? Like, it just seems to be never ending. You'd lose two more pop up, one gets clean, another 6 don't, and it's really, it's hard, because I'm so close to it too with addiction with my daughter, right? Like having that first line frontline knowledge isn't always easy, and it's hard to work with. And like I said, if it's a family member, it's even harder. But sometimes you have to keep things pretty clinical, and even when it comes to your family, like, you have to set boundaries. And that's the hardest thing about addiction, accepting that the person has actually got the addiction disorder, because that's pretty much what it is. It's a disorder. It's like a disease, right? So it's like, a cancer. I'm sure you can get it put into remission sometimes, and sometimes it relapses and it comes back. And then you try giving it, this shot of chemo, and you give it some radiation, and, you get yourself good and you're in remission for a really long time, and sometimes it falls. And you hit the wall again, right? It's the same way of looking at addiction. It's really hard for most laymen to understand it that way as a disease, because the behavior that comes along with addiction, the mental health issues that come along with addiction, just the behaviors of people using substances is not of the norm, right? Like, people act completely, sometimes off the wall, bad behavior, violent. A lot of different behaviors come out with drug use or substance abuse, and it's hard to be around. So I don't ever expect everybody to be able to handle it or do the same things that, addiction workers and people that work in, psychiatric facilities and in detox facilities can do. It's hard work. So, thumbs up to every single one of those people that do it. I was in Lethbridge a while ago, and I had to go to one of the downtown programs that works with the houseless in Lethbridge, which is called Streets Alive. And my daughter has a trustee to help her with her managing her money, because everybody knows that if you give people with substance abuse problems money just willy-nilly, they'll spend it all on the drugs and have nothing to eat with. So we had to put some restrictions, and it wasn't even restrictions. It's just that she wasn't getting her whole check in one big chunk and spending it all in one day. So it's a great facility in downtown Lethbridge that helps the houseless with appointments, with keeping in touch with their families, storage lockers for them to be able to keep their things safe if they, are in a situation where they don't have anywhere to keep their things safe. It's a really great place. So if you can, drop off clean clothes or help them with anything, donations in the downtown core of Lethbridge, that'd be great. We have Street Angels here, which pretty much does the same type of thing. We also have Anchors, which is a drug testing facility here in Cranbrook, that Dana Larson started a drug testing to, test your drugs in Vancouver. So we have a type of site here that does the same type of thing, which is called Anchors, which also gives out safe supply. Not safe supply as far as the substances themselves. I mean, like the paraphernalia, like pipes, needles, fixes, alcohol swipes, that kind of stuff. Narcan. They also teach you how to use Narcan. And all of a sudden I got the worst chill come over me, because talking about this stuff kind of makes me vibrate for some reason. But I've had tremors for the last couple of days, and I don't know what's causing them, but all of a sudden I'll get super cold, and it could be just menopause. Because that's also something that happens. All these symptoms that you get, and you're like, oh, is this weird? No, this is different. No, I'm dying. No. A lot of times it's fucking menopause, motherfuckers. And as women, we don't have a lot of health studies that have been done on us, so we're just kind of all going at it one step at a time, one day at a time, like anything else. But again, back to addiction. It's something that too, like, it can be genetically passed down, which is something I don't think a lot of people understand either. And I'm not saying that, grandpa was, drank, so your child is automatically going to have that prerequisition. I'm not sure exactly how that works. It's something I haven't really researched on, how the genetic basis of things. Can you not knock my stuff over, please? How the genetics works. But they are saying that you can have a pre-genetic disposition to have addiction problems. Now, if anybody, I should. But a lot of mine came from trauma. I believe mostly My parents weren't big drinkers. So I didn't drink. My dad liked to try it on every once in a while. My mom would have the occasional cocktail. Now, my grandfather would come home to a Ryan water. Sorry. Every single night. But that was the times too, right? Like different generations. And my grandparents were, raised in the like my parents were born in the 40s, early 50s, right? So my grandparents were born in like early 1900s. So they were through that 20s, 30s, and the 50s wise, where the little skirt and all dressed up. My grandma was never that, but have a drink on the table for dad, and whatever, and dinner ready when he got home. Yeah, that happened around here when I was a little girl, but not so much as I got older. Like as we got older, because both my parents worked. I was an 80s kid. Like we were latchkey kids. You didn't say the word marijuana. In fact, my mom didn't even speak to me for 2 years when she found my first one. I was called a drug addict for my whole life because I smoked cannabis, right? Like until I got my medical licensing and my mom got some full understanding of what cannabis was as medicine and everything else, and finally realized that I wasn't some raging drug addict because I smoked cannabis. But that's what it was. It was like, oh my God, my daughter smokes. And she worked for the RCMP, right? So first line of like, my daughter's a raging drug addict. She smokes weed. That was probably the best thing I could have done, rather than being a raging alcoholic like the rest of my family. Just saying. I'm not, yeah, like the rest of my family. My uncles were both alcoholics. My cousin, all of them, right? My one cousin doesn't drink anymore. I don't know my dad's side of the family. My grandparents, I don't think they recall ever seeing my dad's parents drink. Oh, well, you stop. See, listen to him. This is my 20-minute call out. It's been 20 minutes. Take me outside. I don't care what you're doing. And he will sit there and cry until I take him out. But he's going to have to wait 20 minutes because I got another 20 minutes of the show to do. So now you get the full, effect of the dog. Now you wonder why I smoke so much cannabis. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. Cannabis news and articles. But again, psychedelics too is something else that's really taken off. And I really, think that. So women who drink heavily face higher chance of unintended pregnancy. Oh, okay. Cannabis and psychedelic rates most effective for symptoms relief of eating disorder for patients. Now, that would be something that would be very interesting, right? So what else we got here? We're going to go back on this. No, we're not going to listen to you cry. That's for dang sure. So a lot of that stuff too is like, if there's anything scientific that might be new that's come up, updates for cannabis effective April 2025. Well, none of this stuff is really too, new. And a lot of the stuff, like I said, I don't want to step onto Al and, his news updates and stuff either. I'm just looking for research. Are you kidding me? Welcome, Breezy, to the show. Are you kidding me? Are you seeing him? You can hear him. There he is. Because I'm not paying attention. And he's telling me I need to go out. But you don't need to go out. If I tell him, go lay down, man. If I can, maybe he'll go away. Anyways, but again, I don't want to step on too much of, Al's news stuff either, but risks and concerns with pregnancy. Health Canada continues to educate youth and young adults on the increased risk of adverse effects from cannabis as the brain develops continues to around 25. I don't even know what to say about this. Because we know that there are some children that, well, again, these children that are using it for medical or epileptic children, kids that aren't I would say neurologically typical, right? Neurologically typical. Some of them have physical disorders too, and they're not probably the ones that they have to worry about, with the average, teenage brain, because most of the kids that we know that are using cannabis for medicine aren't. Well, I wouldn't say that because, some of them are using it for sleep and eating disorders, and you never know what again, you have to be careful on how much consumption is done. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to scream. Hang on. We're going to have to turn me off for a minute. Sorry about that. If I don't do that, he will sit there for the next 20 minutes and whine. And we've got 15 minutes left, so he's just gonna have to sit there, and he won't mess in the house. I know that for a fact. I know what Alexa's telling me, and I don't like it right now. It's probably something about smoke alert, because we do have fire burning between here and Creston. Yeah, between Cranbrook and Creston. But it's like way off where nothing's around it except for some railroad tracks. And I did ask my neighbor how close that to the railroad tracks, but hopefully nobody's got anything growing up there. But again, like, nobody's gorilla growing anymore, really, in the bush. Like, before, I'd be worried about somebody's gorilla grow. But nobody's really doing that anymore. Because you can grow in your yard, or, well, they tell you not to. They tell you to kind of keep it so you can't see it. But you don't hear of anybody getting busted because their 4 plants was hanging over their fence. Mind you, you don't want to put them over your fence because you don't want anybody ripping you off. So anybody who is growing in their yard, usually growing like close to their house or in a greenhouse or somewhere that they aren't visible, because you don't want anybody taking them. And people will come and take your tomatoes and your fucking peas, never mind your cannabis, right? Did I say it out loud? I never garden raided when I was a kid. Not cannabis. I would have never done that. That's a big fat no-no. But, we might have snuck into somebody's yard and stole some peas when we were kids. Well, we were feral. We were feral. We had to eat it. We weren't allowed to come home before the fucking street lights were coming on. How do you think we ate? Garden hoses and some grandma's garden. Why do you think so many of our generations are vegetarians? We were raiding your fucking gardens. Maybe smoking your outdoor weed too. Kidding, maybe not. Anyways, okay, so what do we got here? Anyway, man, it's just the basic same stuff like that we, normally talk about. Again, regulatory effective and licensed are no longer required to report certain plant trimmings. Oh, as of April 1st, 2025, license holders in Canada are no longer required to report certain plant trimmings, and the unit of measurements for seeds has changed. Data from 20 shows an increase in the average daily amount of medical cannabis authorizations by healthcare practitioners in Canada. A government-funded study suggests that CBD cannabinoids may show promising results in reducing inflammation and cognitive decline associated with aging. Really? And that was another thing I was listening to the other day too. Like, I watch a lot of Al-Jazeera news in Thailand. Like, their new president, they just had another election in Thailand, and their new president was the president. Well, he's not new. He was the one that was instrumental in legalizing cannabis in Thailand. And then I was also seeing something here about Trump and cannabis. Where was that? It was on Al Jazeera, but it said something about Trump and cannabis. I've seen it before him. Because nothing that orange potato does is good. Nothing. And if he's going to do something and cannabis, I would be totally shocked. But if he figures it's something he can one-up Canada on, he might. Because, why wouldn't we? Trump and cannabis reform and legalization. Okay, let's go here. Let's look at another Trump kids during 2016 presidential campaign for the issue of legalization. His administration company upheld the federal prohibition of cannabis in Trump's 2021 fiscal budget, proposed including removing protections for state medical marijuana laws. Oh. Okay, well, we got August of, we'll bring this up. Okay, so it says, will Trump change? I don't want to donate now, sorry. Will Trump change federal marijuana policies? Here's what to know. President Donald Trump is taking a new look at reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug in a move that could nudge the federal government closer to an approach to already embraced in many states. But didn't just Texas reclassify? Let's keep reading. I got 10 minutes. You probably... Okay. Trump said Monday that he hopes to decide in the coming weeks about whether to support changes to the way marijuana is regulated. The renewed focus on marijuana comes more than a year after former President Joe Biden's administration formally proposed reclassifying marijuana. No decision has been made before Biden left office. Meanwhile, many states have already gone further than the federal government by legalizing the recreational use of marijuana for adults or allowing it for medical purposes. What's the federal policy on marijuana? Possessing marijuana remains a federal crime punished by fines and prison time. Selling or cultivating marijuana is a more serious offense, punishable by prison sentences of 5 years to life, depending on the quantity of drugs. 5 years to life, folks. The Justice Department last year proposed reclassifying marijuana from a Scheduled 1 drug alongside heroin and LSD to a less dangerous Scheduled 3 substance, which includes such things as ketamine and some anabolic steroids. But that switch involved a lengthy bureaucratic process. Well, now that you got RFK in there that thinks that heroin's okay, you know, I started banging heroin and I went all the way to my top of my class in Harvard. I went. Right? But seriously, that's what this fucking idiot said. Not shitting you. Anyways, we'll get back to this. Because I was reading this. I forgot to bring it onto the stage. We're up, but here we are. Okay, so processing marijuana remains a federal crime punished by fines and prison time. Selling or cultivating marijuana is a more serious offense, punishable by prison sentences of 5 years to life, depending on the quantity of the drug. The Justice Department last year proposed to reclassifying marijuana from a Scheduled 1. Okay, we already heard that. Nearly 43,000 public comments were submitted to the federal government about the proposed change. The Drug Enforcement Administration was still in the review processes when Trump succeeded Biden in January, triggering a re-examination of policies across the federal government. What would reclassifying marijuana mean in the states? Reclassifying marijuana would make not it legal for recreational use. Reclassifying would not make it legal for recreational use. Okay. Okay, reclassifying marijuana would not make it legal for recreational use by adults nationwide. Rather, it would change the way it's regulated and taxed. Regulated and taxed. Federal income tax deductions for business expenses aren't available to enterprises involved in trafficking in any Scheduled 1 or 2 drug. Changing marijuana to a Scheduled 3 drug would mean significant tax savings for businesses licensed to sell marijuana in states that are legal. It also could make it easier to research marijuana since it's very difficult to conduct authorized clinical studies on Scheduled 1 substances. Due to the potential for federal penalties, many banks and financial institutions don't provide debt or credit services, loans, or other common banking products to marijuana businesses authorized under state law. This is unlikely to change merely by rescheduling marijuana under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, according to a Congressional Research Service report. What is there for Trump to consider? Trump is weighing the pros and cons of marijuana policy changing, noting it's a very complicated subject. It's a very complicated subject. Sure it is. I've heard great things having to do with medical use of marijuana and bad things having to do with just about everything else, Trump said Monday. Marijuana advocate groups have long pushed for federal government to soften its stance as candidate Trump appeared open to relaxed regulations, posting on his social media platform last year that he would focus on research to unlock the medical use of marijuana to Schedule 3 drugs. But reclassification faces resistance from some conservatives and law enforcement groups. The National Sheriff's Association was among those submitting written opposition, highlighting prior determinations that marijuana was a high abuse potential and pointing the cases of extreme intoxication and fatal vehicle crashes, which we all know is bullshit. What's happening in the States, the medical use of marijuana is already allowed in 40 states and the District of Columbia. Over the past dozen years, the number of jurisdictions legalizing recreational marijuana for adults rose rapidly to 24 states and the District of Columbia. But the amendment suffered some recent setbacks. Dun, dun, dun. Ballot measures to legalize recreational marijuana failed last fall in Florida, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Florida's measures received a majority vote, which would have been sufficient in most states, but they fell short of the 60% threshold because, they raised that right before the election. Idaho lawmakers this year referred to proposed constitutional amendments to the ballots that would forbid citizens' initiatives to legalize marijuana, instead leaving such decisions only to the legislature. Initiatives continue elsewhere to try to place recreational marijuana on the ballot, including Oklahoma, where voters defeated a measure in 2023. All right, and we'll leave that at that, because I do believe, too, that Texas also, just finished that. And we were going to do a last-minute quick update on Haley, because I'm smart like a stick. And this dog's going to start barking. Of course they are, because why wouldn't they, right? Because it's almost time for me to go. And that's why they all start. It's like they know there's a timer in their heads. And they say, oh, let's make her last 3 minutes on the air a complete fucking nightmare for her. We're going to stop and yell for a minute. All right. Now let's hope that shuts them up for the next 4 minutes. Anyways, Haley. So Haley was on our show not too long ago, and she is doing absolutely. It's been a while since the last time we had an update, but here we go. August 5th, Haley had her second decrease of diazepam. The first day was July 5th. This brought her to a total of 50% decrease. Unfortunately, we did see withdrawal symptoms and spent the last month stabilizing and working out diet and hormone regulations. The symptoms have diminished, and we will continue to wean at 10% decreases in the next few weeks to minimize her further withdrawal symptoms. For hormones and diet, we are working on following hormonal impact on ketones and glucose with a Libra 2. A loose pattern that was suspected in being tracked. In a few months, it will be able to fine-tune and determine any possible patterns that are repeated to hone in on direct ratio changes that might meet these potential patterns. Currently, we are using a 4 to 6 different ratio meals, which changed happenings every 5 to 6 days. This is also corresponding with her hormone changes through the month. The time will tell if this repeated and consistent model that we can be utilized long term. This picture, can you see the picture? I don't know how to bring that up. How do I bring that up? Facebook, presenter invite. Stop that screen, and we'll bring this screen up. There. So there's a picture. Hey. Let me see if I can bring her up. There we go. This is a recent picture of her. And I don't know if I can finish reading. So this is another little quick Haley update. And that's it. I'm going to have to wrap the show, unfortunately. But, again, Crime Book Substitution Program. That's tamaralee9@hotmail.com. And thanks for joining me this week, folks. And thanks again to our sponsors. And thanks to Al and Al that put up with me and produced my show. Y'all have a great week. And we'll see you next week. Actually, I'll see you Wednesday on the Pace Radio Show with Al. Have a good week, folks.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.